All right, all right, all right, all right. Just about ready, gentlemen. Got a good one for you guys today. Twisting it up a little bit for us. Here we go. What's going on, Vikings fans? Welcome back to the Purple and Gold Bar Show. We've made it to Thursday. It's breakdown day. We're going to go over the game that's coming up. We're going to be going over everything I could possibly think of, giving you guys a comprehensive breakdown. Don't forget to hit that like and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe, because we are on the road to 500 subscribers, and I do hope to be there by the end of the calendar year. So with your support, we can definitely pull that off. All right, guys, let's get into it. We got a breakdown. We got everything we need to do, and we're gonna have a simulation playing. But before that, let's do the intro. All right, so we're gonna have a simulation, a game that I played a little bit earlier this morning, trying to, I don't know, put a game together that kind of made sense. Had to have a couple of mistakes, of course. I went with JJ to start, so hopefully you guys enjoy that background video as I give you guys the breakdown. All right, let's get into it. We got the Minnesota Vikings versus the Philadelphia Eagles. They're coming into US Bank Stadium. It's at 1 o'clock. It's a nice 1 o'clock game. And yeah, we get some overarching storylines to cover. You know, it's kind of been beaten to death, but let's recap them anyways. You know, Philadelphia is trying to avoid a 3-game slide and trying to avoid losing 3 in a row. Their run game has been inconsistent, and there's been a lot of turmoil and questions going around between A.J. Brown as well as Jalen Hurts and what that relationship is like. You know me, I think where there's smoke, there's fire. So I don't know if it's a massive raging fire. Maybe it's just a little ember that's just waiting to catch a blaze. And 3 games in a row with bad losses would definitely spark that. So I'm interested to see how these Eagles respond. And then we got our Minnesota Vikings. We have the quarterback crisis, the quarterback conundrum that shouldn't even be. You know, J.J. McCarthy did look overwhelming at times, but let's not forget that in that fourth quarter, he showed one of the greatest flashes a rookie could do, making it a historic night. Never been done before. And I don't know about you. I knew we were going to go in with this season and have a lot of flashes and growing pains from the young man. And for the first one to be that historic and that great, I think we're going to be all right. That's why I have a lot of faith on top of all the research that I've done on Mr. J.J. McCarthy. Now, Carson Wentz has looked great in his absence, in his injury, right? And, it goes to show that this team is a really, really good team. And they can pretty much carry just about anybody to a win. Our defense keeps us in it, as well as we're always finding ways to try to come back, put things together when it counts, right? So the resiliency, the championship pedigree is slowly being created, and hopefully over the next couple of years, we can see that come to fruition, right? And then, Kevin O'Connell was visibly frustrated this week with the questions that keep piling up over, is it JJ? Is it Carson? Is it JJ? Is it Carson? And I get it. Maybe it's just a little bit of a show, or maybe he's just legitimately frustrated because it's like, bro, what do you want me to tell you? I'm telling you the exact same thing every week. And what do you expect me to say? He returned to limited practice and we don't know yet? Duh, can you guys look at the injury report and figure that out on yourselves? I don't get it. Sometimes you can't fix stupid. So he gets a little bit frustrated. I get it. But, a lot of analysts say that Carson will be the one that starts. He did share reps with JJ. JJ was limited, and then Carson was full participation. So, I understand that logic and that theory that Carson is in the lead to start. But we still have a whole week of practice to go. We'll see how his injury designation goes, if he's limited to full practice all the way through. He might end up being, it might end up being a game time decision to whether Carson or JJ starts, because I'm under the understanding that he's not going to start unless it's like he's definitely ready to go. And if after all these practices he's got some swelling or anything of that nature that's going to give them some apprehension to start, they're going to sit him. So obviously, what's going on, MJ? Obviously, it's going to be up in the air, and maybe there's a little bit of gamesmanship there. Try not to give our hand, because whether you're preparing for Carson or you're preparing for JJ, you're going to come up with some different plans of attack, right? Now, and that kind of brings us to that kind of ties up all our overarching storylines and the things that have been kind of making the rounds through the media, as well as through NFL or Vikings or Eagles commentary channels, right? But first, let's give these Philadelphia Eagles a good once-over. Let's see what we got going on, right? So let's look at some advantages and some strengths, right? Right now, they seem to have a run game opportunity against our defensive line, right? We've had some issues with gap integrity to start the year. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not. It's still a work in progress. So there might be some opportunities and some holes for Saquon to take advantage of, right? Now, the Vikings lack a true run-stopping line or players, right? Like I've been saying, I feel like we sacrificed a lot for pass rush as well as the pass defense, and sacrificed run stoppers. And it feels like we don't have that skill set on the team. So it makes sense that the Eagles would be looking to attack us that way. Now, Saquon has been struggling. There's been a little bit of injury talks, as well as maybe the play calling hasn't been the greatest, because the Eagles do have a rookie play caller. So, there are growing pains there. Maybe that's why he hasn't been doing so well. But because we are, not doing well against the run, it shows a true potential for Saquon to have a breakout game. Now, I'm hoping that our injuries and having a more complete defense out there is going to make a bit of a factor there. But it is something to keep in mind of that these Eagles are going to try to continue to take advantage of, like other teams have, right? I've been saying all along, like, if we can't even get a a respectable run defense. It doesn't have to be top tier. It doesn't even have to be top 10. It just has to be around middle of the pack or a little bit better. Because if we are able to do something in the run stopping game, it's going to keep their offense honest, right? So I'm hoping that Brian Flores has come up with some schemes, as well as the return of Blake Cashman, and potentially Mr. Andrew Van Ginkel might make a little bit of a difference there. Now, another area that these Eagles could take advantage of is if they dumb down their offense, trying to make it extremely simple because of all the blitz schemes and the simulated pressure and stuff, trying to make it easy for Jalen so he's not so confused trying to run some of these more elaborate plays. Now, that might be something that would work in theory, but with a rookie play caller, we have that advantage that they're going to have growing mistakes. They're going to be situationally unsure. There's going to be some mistakes, and hopefully it all kind of levels out, and B-Flow kind of has a good game plan brought up, right? So, and then of course we have issue, like, of course they might be looking to target using their big guys, their athletes, right? AJ Brown as well as Devonta Smith versus our secondary, right? And see if they can just play a game of let's just throw it up to our better athletes and see what we can do. Now, Jeff Okudah might be somebody that they might target because he hasn't been, showing up statistically as a dominant corner or anything like that. They might stay away from throwing to Isaiah because he has been playing well. But, where others see disaster, or I see opportunities. So this might be an opportunity for Jeff Okudah to kind of prove a lot of the doubters wrong. He's had some great plays. He's also hasn't had a ton of great plays either. So maybe it's the Jeff Okudah breakout game. I'm not sure, but that is something to be aware of as Vikings fans, that they might try to oversimplify and just kind of play some backyard football, trying to throw up to what they believe is their better guys. But, with Hitman Harry out there, Blake Cashman out there, Eric Wilson out there, all these playmakers, might be a little bit difficult to go with that approach. So hopefully we have B-Flow is on top of that, right? Now, the pass rush from the Eagles has been historically good. I know they've been dealing with a bunch of injuries there, so but it's still something that they're going to try to capitalize over our banged up O-line. Now, mind you, our O-line is going to be as the healthiest, most likely, that they've been all year, so that is a great sign. So it may hold up against the Eagles pass rush, but it is something to be concerned of as a Vikings fan going into this week. If they can do a really good job of collapsing the pocket, making it difficult, and not letting Carson or JJ, whoever is named the starter going into the game, if they can prevent them from getting comfortable, it might actually play a big factor. Now, also, the last thing that I want to say about the Eagles, they're coming off that mini bye that we like to call, right? They played on Thursday night, so they had a little bit of extra rest. And so, that might lead to a little bit more scouting, more game planning that might help them better prepare. They're going to be angry coming after 2 devastating losses, an embarrassing loss against the Broncos when it seemed like they were in full control of the game, but Bo Nix turned into, I don't know, he hit his ceiling in that fourth quarter, and he picked them apart. So, and then last week, the Giants came in there and did what the Eagles do. They bullied them and basically put belt to ass. And so they're going to be hungry and angry to try to make right. But, there's been a lot been said about even some reports coming out saying, hey, this kind of feels more like 2023 before that, after that 10 games winning streak, and then they collapsed for the end of the season, right? So I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if it's closer to 2023 or to 2024. Maybe the truth lies somewhere in between. Maybe they're just a good team that that maybe isn't like dominant Super Bowl caliber or Super Bowl front runners, I guess you could say. Maybe they're just a good team that's capable of making the playoffs, and if things go right and they get hot at the right time, they may end up pushing for the Super Bowl. You never know. So I'm not going to put too much credence into that, but it is something that's being talked about quite a bit. Now, the weaknesses and concerns that the Eagles have, right? The offensive line play and Hurts pressure management, right? That's something that I wrote down because he's been sacked pretty frequently and the line communication has regressed this year, right? So maybe Brian Flores' exotic, scheme and his showing blitz and simulated pressures and just confusion that he can create might continue pushing or highlighting that dysfunction that they have on the O line, right? So that is something that, as us Minnesota Vikings fan, can kind of look forward to looking when we're watching the trenches all throughout the game, right? I don't know about you, but I'm definitely going to be focusing heavily on the trenches and especially in the first half to see how we're doing. Then on top of that, I'll be moving out to the edge rushers, linebackers. I kind of do my thing of just kind of try to pay attention to every area and then focus on the quarterback play and all that fun stuff, receiver play. So yeah, it might be something that we can capitalize on, right? Now, also, it's no secret that the Eagles are dealing with some injuries in the secondary, and it has looked pretty bad at times, right? So, Justin Jefferson, Addison, TJ Hawkinson. Now that TJ Hawkinson actually it might have less blocking duties now that more of our starting O-line is going to be present. If best case scenario happens and we get Darisaw and O'Neal, we have Brandell at center and our left guard that went for our left guard that had the wrist surgery. If everybody comes back and we're basically full strength, that maybe Hawkinson isn't going to have to block as much. I don't know if you guys noticed in the Pittsburgh Steelers game, TJ had to go up against one-on-one against TJ. So TJ versus TJ was going on. TJ Watt and TJ Hawkinson going at it. And guess what? Hawkinson did a really good job when he did line up against him and preventing him from getting to the quarterback. So although he hasn't been showing up in the passing game because he has had to help elsewhere, he's been valuable. And we know what he can do in the pass game. He can be that safety blanket, right? So maybe if they're too focused on what Addison, what Jefferson can do, and in the back end, Thielen or Naylor, maybe we might see a little bit more production out of Hawkinson this week since he's going to be, given a little bit more to do on the offense other than blocking, right? So that's what I'm hoping to see here. Some advantages that might come our way. And then the offensive rhythm, right? The Eagles have been struggling. They've got -5 passing yards in one half. They've had 0 passing yards in the second half. That probably leans to the fact that their play caller is a rookie and he might be just growing pains. It might be situational awareness. It's just it's a different thing once you're in game compared to when you're practicing or working on it in the game plan or in meeting rooms for the play caller, right? So hopefully we can be consistently applying pressure through our pass rush and our secondary, as well as just kind of disrupting the flow of their offense, making it much difficult for them to kind of get in a rhythm. That way we can kind of start off by keeping them on their toes, right? Another thing that they got to worry about is home field advantage. It's no secret that our home field advantage is like top 3 in the league, right? Us, Seattle, and the Chiefs, I think, are the top 3 based on the decibel levels that we can get in there, right? So we've seen some of the best teams struggle in the first quarter. We get a ton of false starts, miscommunications on the defense, right? If you can't hear each other, and sometimes the signals don't come across easy enough, it might be difficult for them at the early part of the game before they kind of get a hang of it, and that's going to be an opportunity for our Vikings to kind of capitalize and push on them. So that we can kind of get a lead and make them become one-dimensional and not let them make us one-dimensional. Make them play Vikings football so we're not playing Eagle football, right? So that's something that I was keeping an eye on. So again, the keys to victory for the Eagles: they got to commit to the run early, got to get Saquon going because he is a generational running back. He's a little bit injured. Maybe it's injury, maybe it's rust. I don't know what it is this year, but he might be poised for a breakout game here. So they got to run with him to try to test our interior gaps and gap integrity in general, right? They got to protect Hurts, right? If we can get the simulated pressures and then get actual physical pressure, even some sacks going on there, it might rattle him. It might make it difficult for him to. So they need to protect him in order for them to succeed. So I'm hoping that we can really put it on them and make it hard on them. Next thing, they got to simplify the reads, right? Make it easier. Like I said, maybe go back to backyard football and making it so they throw it to their best guys in hopes that they can come away with a big play or come away with a steal, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? So that's why, taking advantage of AJ, Devonta, Dallas Goedert, right? So guys like that might be looking to feast, just kind of throwing it up, trying to hope for the best. But I don't know if that's going to be a great strategy because we lead, well, not the lead, but we're in the top in a lot of pass defense metrics. So it might be a poison that they might not want to dive into, but when you got A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, and Goddard, you might just have to deal with it, right? Maybe it might be a big day for them. It might be a big day for our secondary, but one way or another, that is definitely one of their ways to one of their keys to victory, right? And lastly, they got to avoid turnovers, right? We are one of those teams that are hungry for creating confusion and turnovers and capitalizing on the chaos that Brian Flores likes to create on the field. We all like to say that he likes to put opposing quarterbacks in the blender. So if we can do a really good job of that, it might be lights out for them. But if they can avoid that, if they can live in the pressure and avoid those turnovers, it might be a key to victory for them, right? So, but with all that being said, we gotta move on to the Vikings because that's what really matters here, right? We got our own set of advantages and strengths, right? We have an elite defensive scheme, in my opinion. Brian Flores is up there with Spagnuolo. So not to say that they have the same scheme or anything, in the way that they are unique, in the way that they think about scheme defense. Nobody runs a defense like Spagnuolo. Nobody runs a defense like Brian Flores. And so with that being said, that elite defensive scheme is going to hopefully pay dividends like it has throughout the year. If it wasn't for our defense, and we wouldn't be in the games that we actually won. We wouldn't have completed the comebacks that we did. The elite defense and the schemes are what continue to neutralize drives, make teams go 3 and out, and making it so our offense has more than enough opportunities than the other team, continue to put up points, and ideally finish the game with more points than the other team, right? So more drives, less drives, more points for us, less points for them, right? So the idea that's what we need to focus on. Now, we've also limited opponents in the red zone and on third down efficiency. So if we continue to be strong on that area, we can force some 3 and outs and force 3 points instead of touchdowns, right? So hopefully we can continue that trend, as well as our blitz heavy simulated pressure heavy scheme continues to keep Jalen Hurts guessing. Now he's been struggling this year, so hopefully we can capitalize on that and make them pay. Now, we got some playmakers on defense, right? Isaiah Rodgers with his spectacular game. Over the last couple weeks has kind of diluted his stats and whatnot because, we have a way of focusing on our game plan first and not going for individual stats, and whatever happens, right? And so, but as a result, he's still been a great corner. He's been strong in coverage. He's opportunistic in turnovers, of course. And he continues to flash. He continues to get in people's faces, contest balls, making it very difficult for wide receivers to do what they need to do, right? Now, Flores schemes definitely tries to hide our weaknesses and also highlight our strengths, right? Now, some people might say that Jeff Okuda might be hidden by Brian Flores' scheme or whatnot, but maybe a lot of the things that Jeff Okuda might be doing just don't show up on the stat sheet, right? Sometimes a glue guy doesn't really look spectacular until they make a great play. And I have seen him make a couple good, crucial pass deflections and whatnot. He has made some bad plays, of course, but which corner doesn't? And maybe, like I said earlier, this might not be like when other people see a disaster, I see opportunity. So this might be the Jeff Okuda breakout game, right? And they might think, we're going to pick on him, and he might be thinking differently, right? Or they might be thinking, hey, we know Isaiah Rodgers, so we might be looking to pick on him and what his weaknesses are, and it might end up backfiring on them because we know what to expect. We know how to create that confusion, and B-Flow's scheme is just that good. Now, one of our next strengths is our passing weapons. Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, even like guys like Xavier Scott, out of the backfield. Adam Thielen and Speedy Naylor, making some they have to account for those guys because if not, they will also make them pay if they're just focusing on eliminating Justin or Jordan. It's going to be a rough day when we have so many offensive pieces for them to have to be aware of and have to account for at all times. Now, the last thing I want to talk about advantages is that we're coming off the bye week, right? So we get the extra rest, we get more of our health back, and then on top of that, we've got that extra game planning that we've been able to do. On top of the fact that we have home field advantage. I spoke a little bit about it earlier, but yeah, we have one of the best home field advantages in the league. We're not average. We're above average when it comes to home field advantage. We are one of the leaders in false starts. And we've seen a ton of miscommunication and uncharacteristic mistakes from teams to start games because it just gets so loud in there. If you've been in that stadium, it's brutally loud at times. So it can really throw a wrench into a lot of these opening drives or opening quarter for a lot of teams. And if we can do a really good job of not making mistakes at that time and actually completing drives, whether that's field goals and touchdowns, amounting a lead, it might be the difference for us to stay on top of this team and get ahead of them, right? So a big factor for us here. Weaknesses. We got to cover weaknesses, right? We don't know. Is Wentz going to start? Is McCarthy going to start? McCarthy might not be 1,000%, and people are going to classify, he's struggling, he's overwhelmed because of his first two games. And like I've been saying, man, when you focus too much and try to gather too much from a small sample size, you're only going to find randomness masquerading as meaning. So, there's a lot of speculation and whatnot, but until there's a larger sample size, it's all BS. Let's be real. What really matters is if he's healthy and he's had a good week of game planning so he understands and has been practicing it, so he's the most prepared going into the game if he gets the start. Now, Wentz was full participation, so some speculation was, is he going to be ready because of the shoulder? Are they not going to start either one of them? Is Max Brosmer going to start? But it looks like if JJ isn't going to be 1,000% or they're not going to clear him, Wentz is most likely going to start. It wasn't his throwing shoulder that was hurt, and he was full participation on Monday, unlike JJ that was a limited participation, right? But that might change throughout the week depending on what happens, but we'll keep an eye on it and keep an eye for the injury report that will that we'll do tomorrow in regards to that. Now, like I've been saying, some people might say, let's not bother going with JJ. It's going to be so hard. He's already struggled. But you know what? Like I said, that flash is enough to tell me that this guy has what it takes to find ways to win when it counts. Now, sure, he struggled, but not a lot of credit is due that in the first half or the first quarter of that Falcons game, basically most of the O-line went out. Right, we didn't have Christian Darrisaw, so that makes it even harder because he's one of he's, if not the best, one of the best left tackles in game, and he's an eraser. He gives a level of confidence to the rest of the O-line, knowing that he's over there protecting the blind side. They don't have to think twice. They can just focus on their assignments, right? So he's going to be there, and so there he wasn't there, and so all these injuries made it extremely hard for JJ to be able to do anything, right? So more credence to the O-line play and what that was causing the problems over JJ being the one that's the reason to fail. So I kind of don't really pay attention too much for the Falcons game when it comes to JJ, because regardless of the fact, he was still out there trying to make it work. He was still trying to figure it out. He did take that drop hip tackle that injured his ankle, and he finished the game. He pushed through it, and that says a lot about his character and his will and his drive to win. So him being 100% and having all the practice in the world ready to go might show that he might end up looking like he's more prepared and not as overwhelmed as he did at times, right? Not then, but then if we look at Carson Wentz, he is a career backup, right? So he is limited. So it's going to be incumbent, regardless of which quarterback, it's going to be incumbent of the rest of the team, specifically the defense, to make sure that they keep us in the game like they have been doing such a great job. Every single game this year, we have maintained a close game, making it so at any point, if things go right, if we can start mounting a comeback, we have the ability to win. We've been able to do it 3 times. Carson almost pulled off that comeback win against the Steelers, but the fact that he had a chance to bring it back and win it says a lot about the quality and the talent that we have on this roster, not to mention the defensive scheme that we play behind, right? So, you know what they say, defenses win championships, and they're the ones that keep you in the game, right? So regardless of which quarterback plays, I'm fairly confident, like I have been this entire time, saying the roster, regardless of the growing pains or whoever's playing at quarterback, is good enough to win us games. So I still stand by that because of what I've seen in the first 5 games. Now, offensive line health is going to be an issue, right? We're still a little bit banged up. So there's not, there's still hasn't been a clear sign of who's going to be back. We don't know if O'Neill's going to be back yet. It might be school over there. We don't know if, oh my God, Robinson? No. What is our left guard's name right now? Why can't I remember his name? Is it Robinson? Either way, regardless, it might just be that we go with the same patchwork off O-line that we did in the last game, which ended up doing extremely well against the Cleveland Browns. So if that doesn't give you confidence that we can make it work with those guys and having TJ Hawkinson contributing to the pass blocking schemes, I think we're going to be really good. And on top of that, if we get more of our guys back on the O-line, it's just going to increase that efficiency on the O-line and kind of unlock more of what we can do offensively. So I feel like we're going to be the most healthiest, but offensive line health still has to be a factor. We still have to have our backups ready just in case somebody does go down, or maybe O'Neil gives it a shot and after a quarter or two, he's like, you know what, I have to, I got to get pulled or something. You never know. The backups need to be prepared like they were last week. Big ups to Mr. Chris Cooper for getting the team more prepared than they were in previous weeks. I know I was overcritical, and I know a lot of us were overcritical, even calling for him to be released. I was saying more in the lines of, it might be too deep in the season just to fire our O-line coach, but let's bring another voice in, and somebody with a different philosophy, so we can see, so they can kind of put each other's toes to the fire and see if they can come up with a better game plan and just more efficient at it, right? So still something to be keeping an eye on, right? So our run defense is still a weakness, right? We've had some poor gap integrity. Ivan Pace doesn't play great when Blake Cashman isn't out there, or Hitman. He's definitely one of those guys that you have to guide. You just have to. It's like a pit bull that just wants to let go. You just have to put him in the right direction and let him go. And if you tell him where to be, what to do, he can play at a high level. As soon as he has to think about it and think pre-snap and trying to figure it all out, he kind of falls apart, right? So a lot of people have been saying, hey, maybe we should play Eric Wilson in there. And I've been that guy. Maybe we should play Eric Wilson because Eric Wilson has proven to be a playmaker. And then maybe having a playmaker alongside of Blake Cashman might be a really good combination. But, we'll see what B-Flow does in hopes that we can get that run defense up to snuff going forward. And then our keys to victory. We got to continue to pressure Hurts constantly. Keep him in a blender. Make him have to diagnose on the fly. Make him have to second guess his reads and his pre-snaps reads and post-snaps reads and make him have to rush through his progression is going to help to maintain that inconsistency that he's been displaying for the first 5 games of the season. We also need to protect Wentz or JJ, whoever starts. We got to do a lot of the quick throws that we saw against the Browns. We have to do a combination of quick throws that kind of simulate the same effect of a run in order to keep them guessing and then also gash them a little bit with our running game too. We need, like I've been saying for the beginning, actually since we picked up or traded for Jordan Mason, I said the offense needs to run through him. And so if they can do a good job of giving him, 20 or so pluses and then give us, about 10 or 15 quick passes or passes that simulate the same outcome as a run, we're going to be in good position at the end of the game to take over and win when it counts and play the whole clock management game, right? And if we can do that, Hawkinson as well as Jefferson could be, in line for some big games with those quick throws and setting them up for those, because we know that they can do a lot in the passing game. Not to mention Addison as well as Speedy Naylor, right? Now, we need to be really good in situational football. I know I've been critical of KOC that it finds him a little bit of time before he adjusts to what's in front of him. So situationally, he needs to be on point. Third and mediums cannot be a thing. We can't be having third and long, third and mediums. We have to have a good, efficient run game. We got to grind out, 6 yards, 6 to like 8 yards through the run and quick pass game in order to open up and keep those that defense honest, so we can continue to have success on third downs. And then we got to be efficient in the red zone. And if we can accomplish that in those situations, we can definitely take control of this game and not look back. And then lastly, we need to limit Saquon early. Make them have to second guess running the ball against us. I know it's going to be a tough task for us because it's been a difficult outing for us going through the first few games, but I'm hoping that with the, hopefully Harrison Smith isn't on a snap count anymore, and then Blake Cashman is able to kind of lead the defense that way and provide some of that needed guidance and leadership on the field that kind of, helps us be better in the run stopping game. And on top of the fact that Blake Cashman is one of those guys that he's a moving eraser out there. That's why Pace is so good when he plays when Cashman is out there, because Cashman will let him be like, hey, go do this. He'll let him go do his thing and try some of these big plays to try to, make something happen, knowing that if it goes wrong, I got to do this. And he can kind of erase the hole or the thing that becomes available to the offense if he whiffs, right? And when he doesn't whiff, he comes up with some big plays, right? So maybe there's something like that can be happening, or him in combination with Eric Wilson might end up being a similar situation, right? So we'll see how it goes, and hopefully we're able to put enough of a game plan when it comes to our run defense to make it difficult on Saquon early enough to where we get a nice lead, whether that's a 7-point or a 10-point lead, making it so the Eagles have to pass and have to be more one-dimensional and easier for us to win the game, right? So that is definitely something to keep in mind going forward. So Final thoughts. I think it's going to be a really close game. I think it's going to be a hard-fought game. I know the Eagles are struggling, and there is a lot of um, doubt in a lot of people that they're about to collapse. I don't know if that's the case, but sometimes, like I've been saying, it's not about who you're facing, but when you're facing them, right? And maybe because they are in the middle of this dysfunction before the bye, or before they get to really a chance to slow it down, figure it out, and um, come up with some different, what's the word I'm trying to, some consistency, continuity going forward. Maybe we can kind of continue um, that trend for them, so that in the bye they kind of have to sit there and wallow in their own misery, try to figure it out, and then see what they can do in the second half. Man, it would be nice to see them um, struggle going forward, because we were the ones that kind of stuck a dagger to them and made it difficult for them to kind of bounce back this season. So I don't want to put too much credence into that, but I do think it's going to be a close game. I think it might come down to whoever retains possession or is in control at the very end of the game, just like a lot of our games has been, and a lot of the games that the Eagles have been. But needless to say, the way that it feels like it's one of those games like the Steelers, man. Like I said, going in against the Steelers, I said I wouldn't be surprised if this was a one-score game, or I wouldn't be surprised if either one of our teams won by 10, anything like that. It just seems like it could go that way either way. Now this week, it's more, I feel more on the line like it could literally go down to whoever kicks the final field goal, right? It could be that close of a game. There could be a lot of stalled drives on both teams, a lot of dysfunction, a lot of things that just aren't going either team's way. And like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if at the end it's, us kicking a field goal for the win, or them kicking a field goal for the win. But with all that being said, and being nuanced when it comes to the breakdown and how I come up with, it feels like, to me, it feels like we have like a 51% chance, and the Eagles have like a 49% chance based on what's recently happened, right? And so it's a coin flip, for lack of a better way of saying it. And with that being said, I feel like the score is going to be somewhere in the range of like 24-21, 24-17, might even be 27-24. But my intuition is telling me that the Vikings are going to go ahead and take control of this game. And regardless of how it plays out and how close it is, I think it's still going to be a decisive game from us. And I think it'll kind of settle some of the worries that Minnesota Vikings fans have had, especially because I feel like this is around the time that I anticipate our team start to find more consistency and start looking like the team that we are on paper, and the team that a lot of people had expectations of being going into the season. So regardless of which quarterback plays, I still feel like it's going to play out the same way, because I feel like our team, our coaching, our defensive scheme, all those things can carry either one of these guys into the position to win the game. It's all going to be on them, of course, if JJ gets that opportunity and completes it, or if Carson gets that opportunity and completes it. But regardless to say, I know that this team will keep it close, and I don't see a blowout either way. But I have faith that our Minnesota Vikings come out stronger and better than we've looked all season, mainly because of our health, as well as the strength of our team and our composure. I see our championship pedigree slowly start to begin to form. I know we're not anywhere near of being able to say we have championship pedigree, but you have to start somewhere. And the way that we've been playing, the way that this defense plays, the way that they don't give up, that is the mindset and the what you have to be doing in order to develop and grow into having championship pedigree. So that's why I'm going to give the nod to my Minnesota Vikings. Like I said, I think on my picks, I think I might have said 27-17. Now that I've gone more in depth, I've kind of adjusted it a little bit more, because I have tried to take a good look at the Eagles. I'm not just trying to write them off and say, well, they suck right now, they're struggling, so they're going to be a shell of it. I don't want to do that. I want to look at what they are, their strengths, weaknesses, and try to make an educated guess for you guys. So with that being said, the Vikings, let's give it 27-10. Let's be a little bit optimistic. A nice decisive win. Let's go, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown. We'll let this overtime play. That way you guys can see how this game plays out. In the meantime, let's talk about what this means for the Vikings going forward. If we can go ahead and win this week, I think that if we can come up with this win, regardless of the narratives or the anecdotes, it's going to strengthen the argument for haters and saying, well, you beat a bad team. They're going to lose out the rest of the season. They're going to miss the playoffs. So really, you're not actually beating a good team. It's such a team that we thought was good going into it. So regardless of all the naysayers, and I think like for that inside the building, they're going to know what's up. They know that the Eagles, even as dysfunctional as they have, they've still been able to stay in games. And they still can be dangerous at times. If we ignore the things that they can do well, we could be in a world of hurt. But if we can capitalize on our early home field advantage, if we can put together the most efficient game of the season, we are in a great position to win. Sorry, guys, got a little bit of the hiccups there. But anyways, yeah. So, and then when we look at the Eagles, right, what does this mean for them if they win or if they lose? If they win, they silence the naysayers just for 1 week. But like I've seen a lot of commentary channels as well as mainstream media, a lot of people are taking the stance, especially with the recent reporting that's comes out that internally, I forget which player or who said that it feels like the year that they collapsed in-house. And so I don't know, maybe that's something that was let out to, let the Vikings have an extra aura of confidence and maybe, settle down. But I don't think that's what we're going to do, because we have other things that we need to worry about, not just beating the Eagles and what they can do. We are in the process of growing as a team so that we can be a consistent roster to carry whichever quarterback we have, depending on injury, of course, and when JJ's healthy, to the playoffs. Ideally speaking, JJ starts this week. He wins this game and continues to prove doubters wrong the rest of the way. And we're able to win just enough games to sneak into the playoffs. Because if we do that, JJ's going to get a much needed playoff game in his first year starting, which would be an incredible asset to his development going forward. So if we're able to do that and we can continue to build towards that trend, I think the Vikings are going to be on an upward trajectory, even if we still have some little bit of those dips, because the roller coaster is going to be an ongoing thing this year. We may not have as low a dips as we've had to start the year, but we're still going to have some struggles. We're still not going to live up to our potential at times. JJ might still look overwhelmed or might look lights out. We're not sure yet. It's still up in the air. But for the Eagles, right, if they can hush the naysayers and go into this bye week with some confidence and then game plan, it might turn their season around. If they lose, though, it might break them. It might break their locker room. It might be the end of A.J. Brown. You see how he is. I know that he's trying to say all the things in interviews when he's asked, what's your relationship like? What's going on with the offense? What's with this turmoil? Yada, yada, yada. And he says all the right things, but he says it with a grin. And he says it in a way that, I don't know, are you trolling or are you just smiling because you're just saying what you need to say so you don't get in trouble internally, knowing that the dumpster fire is in raging effect here behind the scenes. If you guys knew what I knew, sort of situation, right? So there's too much to take away from it. I'm just speculating there, so I don't know, but it is a factor that needs to be looked at, right? And so it's a fun season. If you're a Vikings, if you're just a football fan in general, man, you got to be ecstatic for what's going on in this season. There's no clear front runner. it's anyone's game. Some teams that look terrible to start the season now look great. Teams that were completely written off start their rookie quarterback and look dominant against the defending Super Bowl champions. Teams that people were already writing off and saying the Chiefs are done, have already turned things, seemingly have turned things around and are, 500. But like I said, going in the season, they're going to be the team that is this version of the Chiefs is going to be the most beatable, and I think that division is definitely up for grabs going forward year to year, unless they make some crazy draft moves and get some crazy luck in the draft to replace some of their aging superstars that kind of have elevated them to do what they've been able to do. I think they're going to be beatable, although they're going to be one of those wily vets that if they make it deep, they might still be able to put a little something together, right? So it's an up and down season, right? And I think if you're a football fan, you got to be excited for this season and what's going on. And I see we're coming close to the end of the game here. It's going to be, hey, look at that. It's a close one in the simulation, just like it's going to be in the actual game this weekend. So with all that being said, let's take a moment to see how this game plays out. Man, these Eagles, they really wanted to, take it to me this game. Now, mind you, I am pretty rusty when it comes to Madden. This is the first Madden that I've owned since, the last one I bought was the one that Adrian Peterson was on the cover for. So, is that in 2015, 16, or 17? I can't remember which year that was, but that was the last one, and that's basically the last year where I played regularly. From time to time, I'll re-up my Game Pass and I'll download whichever Madden's available for free on Game Pass, and I'll play a game or two, just kind of get that feeling of like I just need to watch some football. Sometimes in the off season I miss it so much, so I got to play a little bit of Madden to kind of get that fix, right? And so I haven't really been playing much. So it took me a long time to kind of get my defense down. It's taken me a long time to kind of figure out how I used to play. I used to do a lot of pre-snap motion and whatnot to try to identify, but it's just become, I've honestly forgot a lot of it. So I've just been been doing my best to play in a different way, play more strategically, and kind of try to take advantage with essentially the quick pass game, to be lack of a better way of saying it. So as you can see here, we take over here in overtime with a hope and a prayer. I think that we had like 45, or we had a little bit over a minute to go to try to win this game. I let the clock run down. I didn't want to waste my timeouts because I had something planned for them. I knew what I needed to do. I always have some 2-minute drives, some 2-minute concepts that come, passing concepts. Sometimes I like to go to the flood. Sometimes I like to basically play the Julian Edelman game that Tom Brady did, and just clear the field and just set him on a quick slant or on a drag route and just continue to throw him the ball over and over again, knowing that there's nothing that they can do to stop it. And that's exactly what I did here. Going into this game, I made sure that Philly had no times out going into this game, making sure that we could totally run the clock on them and make sure we can come away with the win here. And as you can see here, let's let this play out for the last little bit here. Ooh, getting close, 26 seconds. Got to call a lot of audibles. Oh, checking the motion. Let's clear the field. And let's leave it up to our main man right here. Let's freaking fracking go, boys. Touchdown, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely. Touchdown, Minnesota. You seen me struggling with the kick. Do we go for it? Do we try to tie it and try to keep playing defense and trying to beat them? No, screw that. We're going for the win. I got balls. So let's do it. We're going to do the same kind of idea here. We're going to clear everything out. I'm going to put our main man, our safety blanket, on a nice little drag route, making it really difficult for these linebackers to defend. Let's see how it plays out. And the 2-point conversion is good. And, oh, they didn't even use that timeout. They just didn't bother. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. And there you have it. A nice, hard-fought win in the simulation, just like we're going to see. I don't think the score is going to play out like that, but I think it gave you guys an idea of somehow of what to expect. A nice, hard-fought win. I made a bunch of mistakes early. I went for it on 4th down and messed up. Let them get a lead on me. But I buckled down. I played winning football. And we made them pay at the end. Let's freaking fracking go, ladies and gentlemen. That is the end of the game. And let's see if we can see the passing stats. 444 yards, 4 touchdowns for J.J. McCarthy. It would have been the same for Carson because I would have played the exact same. And, well, maybe not because Carson in Madden has a lower accuracy rating than J.J. So maybe J.J.'s the guy that we should be going for. All right, guys. I really appreciate you guys. Let's get the intro going and let's bounce.